Quote, China's hurting us very badly on trade, but I have been soft on China because the only thing more important to me than trade is war. It's a stunning admission from a president who previously said that China was, quote, raping the United States when it comes to trade. The interview comes on the same day he accused China of selling oil to North Korea, defying UN sanctions. China responding, pushing back. Joining me live in Beijing is our international correspondent, Alexander Field. And Alex, China says flat out, no, we have not done this. We are not violating any of these sanctions.
Absolutely. They are denying a major allegation from President Trump. You know, Poppy, you pointed out the fact that President Trump was known for very tough talk about trade and China on the campaign trail. We have certainly over the last year seen him put the North Korea issue on the front burner when it comes to the evolving relationship with China. He really needs cooperation from Beijing because the goal of the administration, of course, is to cut the revenue streams, cut the resources that are flowing into North Korea and funding and fueling this illicit regime. The intention there would be to so isolate the regime that they're forced to come to the negotiating table, forced to abandon this rapidly developing nuclear and missile program. But a raft of sanctions with that goal in mind has been leveled against North Korea in the last year. We've seen it every couple of months. Sweeping sanctions from the UN, also more targeted sanctions focusing on various entities and individuals that are doing illegal business. The question now is whether ships are being used to illegally bring oil into North Korea, that oil that's necessary for their economy, oil that is critical for their military. Well, the president is being very clear. He's saying that, yes, indeed, that is happening, and he's blaming China for allowing it to happen. The Treasury Department first flagged this back in November. They released images that they say showed illegal ship-to-ship transfers involving North Korean vessels. Now you've had these South Korean media reports that suggest that Chinese ships were involved in illegal transfers, and we're now hearing from a State Department official that not only are these transfers happening, but that they involve vessels from various countries, including China. A full-throated denial from China today. The foreign ministry here is saying that Beijing has fully upheld all tenets of the UN Security Council resolutions. They say that if they have any evidence in the future that any companies or vessels have violated those resolutions, that they'll go ahead and deal directly with that problem. But they are not conceding that there has been evidence of a problem. South Korean officials, Poppy, see it very differently. In fact, they say that they seized a ship back in November that had done an illegal transfer of oil back in October. A ship that they say was registered to Hong Kong, transferring oil to a North Korean vessel. They say it happened back in October. They're still investigating it. In fact, Poppy, they still have the ship and they still have the crew detained. This all really speaks to the issue here of what these resolutions are capable of doing. But first, they have to be fully enforced in order for them to have any shot of working, even if there's doubt about the potential effectiveness of these resolutions. Poppy?
Exactly. Alexander Field, appreciate the reporting live for us from Beijing. With me now, Democratic Congressman of New York, Gregory Meeks. He also serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. I'm sure has a lot to say about all of this. So it is stunning to hear the president say, I've been soft on China. And he says he's done so because he wants China to act on North Korea, prevent, any potential of nuclear escalation, nuclear war. Do you believe that the president's political calculus on China, how he has handled President Xi, for example, has been effective?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that the president's international relations have been effective at all because generally it's based upon trust. The president lies, and as I talk to whether it's dealing with the North Korean issue or other issues around the world, and I talk to other individuals, heads of states or legislative individuals, they don't know what to believe with the president. And so that's the first time that they have a question of whether this president is telling the truth or not.
So here's how the White House would push back. And there's a great analysis of just the president's overall foreign policy and diplomacy attempts over the last year in the New York Times this morning that I'm sure you've seen. And White House aides point to a number of things. They say, look, China has done more on North Korea, not enough, but more on North Korea now than under previous presidents. Saudi Arabia has made moves when it comes to allowing women to drive, et cetera. Of course, there are major concerns about Yemen and Saudi's involvement there. They also point to gains in terms of NATO and NATO members stepping up and paying more for their own defense. The White House says these are foreign policy gains. You don't see any of those.
No,
it sounds like.
let's be clear. President Obama told Mr. Trump when he came in that his #1 problem was going to be North Korea. and that they were moving on it and trying to give him some recommendations on what to do and how to handle it. So this is not something that Trump, his policies, and we don't see where his policies have changed anything. We've got to make sure, what your last report, I really want to see the substance and the evidence of that South Korea has, because unfortunately, I'm put into a position that I can't trust my own president. I want to see what South Korea has as far as the evidence with reference to China.
What would you do with China, for example? I mean, how would you move China's hand more then?
Well, I think that, when you look at, that's why I say I want to see what South Korea has, because when we have these sanctions on North Korea, we have to make sure that they're being properly enforced. And if China or anyone else is violating those sanctions, then we have to come down hard. The problem is the President of the United States.
But I'm asking you, what does coming down hard mean?
Coming down hard.
Do you mean it, for example, sanctioning the biggest bank in China? You could do that.
Yes, and I'm talking about economic sanctions also. I'm talking about then trying to make sure that, because we talk about our trading relationship with China, which is important to China. It's trying to reach out to the rest of the world. I think that what we should have done, and that the president that would have been more effective, that President Obama was utilizing, was, for example, TPP. And that would help isolate China and get some of the other countries working with us. He let China off the hook with regard to the TPP.
By pulling the U.S. out.
And by pulling the U.S. out.
Let me get you on a few other things in this fascinating New York Times interview that the president gave. He said that he believes that Mueller, special counsel Bob Mueller, will treat him fairly. Many of your fellow Democrats have raised concerns that the president may fire Trump Mueller, despite the White House and the president saying they have no intention to try to orchestrate that. Does that put some of those concerns to rest, do you think?
Not at all. I'm concerned when he says that he has every right to deal with the Justice Department. It's threatening to our very democracy.
So you don't believe him on the Mueller comments?
No, not at all. Not at all. He's a liar. He says things one, next week he'll say something else. So how can you believe someone who consistently lies? That's a fact. I'm not trying to make something up. You can get him on camera saying one thing one day and saying something else a week or two later. And so it is something that I do not believe him. And I think maybe it's a tactic, because he said the same thing about Comey one time. Remember, Comey was in the White House and he was praising him and saying a lot of good things. And then what did he do the next few weeks? He fired him.
Let me ask you about sexual harassment cases, because when you were on this program with me and John, you said that John Conyers should step down as ranking member of Judiciary, and he ended up doing that because of the sexual harassment allegations against him, and now ended up going further than that. There are documents that CNN has obtained of a settlement that was brokered through your office back in 2006 with the Office of House Employment Counsel. This is a wrongful firing case that was brought against your office because of a former staffer, her name, Andrea Payne. She came into your office, her attorney alleges, and said, I was fired because I was sexually harassed at the office, the business location of one of your biggest donors. And the allegation here is that she was fired by you directly because she made that complaint to you. What is your response to that?
The allegation is completely false. This had nothing to do with sexual discrimination or anything. It was a fair labor standard scenario, talking about overtime payment, and it was about 2.5 hours of overtime that was talked about, and so it had nothing. It was an open case that you can just pull it up.
Was she fired because of her claims of sexual harassment at the office of one of your big donors?
Absolutely not.
Were taxpayer dollars used through the OOC, the office that regulates this through the government, in this retribution settlement, though?
Absolutely. Well, what happened was this was in a federal court that took place over a 6-year period of time, and over a 2.5-hour allegation of overtime payment. My chief of staff that came to me, who said we should not pay this, of course, had passed. And the cost of the American taxpayers for this case that was going on for over 6 years, and the lawyers continued to mount.
Do you regret at all, finally, that she was fired, or how she was treated by you or your staff?
No.
Congressman, we appreciate the time. Thank you. Have a good New Year. All right, we do have some breaking news out of the White House. Staff shakeup. Abby Phillip has much more. She is covering the president as he is on holiday in Florida. What are you learning?
Well, Poppy, there's some changes coming to the White House's political operation in the new year. There's been a lot of complaints from inside and outside of the White House about the effectiveness of that operation. We've learned, according to a person familiar with the moves, that a White House aide, Johnny DeStefano, who's currently in charge of the Office of Presidential Personnel, is going to be overseeing an umbrella of departments within the White House, including that political operation, as part of an effort to professionalize and give that office a little bit more power going into the midterm elections. DeStefano, who's been with the White House since the beginning, is also going to be leading the Office of Public Liaison and the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. These changes reflect two big losses on the part of the president. He endorsed in Virginia and endorsed in Alabama. Both of his candidates lost there, leading a lot of people inside and outside of the White House to say we need more political firepower. DeStefano is a veteran of Capitol Hill, a former aide to John Boehner. He's going to be taking over that operation as someone who the White House is hoping will put a little bit more confidence into their ability to handle the political tides that they are likely to face in 2018, Poppy.
Okay, thank you for the reporting. The breaking news, again, a staff shakeup at the White House, some rearranging of the chairs here. We appreciate it, Abby. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Booking a flight at the last minute doesn't have to be expensive. Just go to Priceline. It's the best place to book a flight a few days before my trip and still save up to 40%. Just tap and go. For the best savings on flights, go to Priceline.
What does the future of the internet hold? Is it access to high-speed bandwidth for rural America? Or immediate reliable communications after a disaster? Is it video conferencing from the middle of the ocean or from the top of a mountain? At Airborne Wireless Network, our technology is leading the way to make that a reality. What does the future hold? Maybe it's connectivity for all.
Another day at the office. Why do you put up with it? Believe it or not, you actually like what you do, even love it. And today, you can do things you never could before. You're working in millions of places at once with IoT sensors, analyzing social data on the cloud to create new designs, and using blockchain to help prevent fraud. So get back to it and do the best work of your life.
Taxpayers have rights. Do you know your rights? We do. We're Community Tax. If you owe back taxes, have years of unfiled returns, or have received one of these, you need our help immediately. The IRS is now more aggressive than ever and even using private debt collectors to collect back taxes. With our proprietary Fast Action Response Program, Community Tax can stop wage garnishments, bank levies, and harassment now. Call Community Tax today at 800-444-1026 for a free, no-obligation case analysis. Who's your tax guy?
The finest luxury items from the world's top designers, including Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Hermes, Cartier, and hundreds more. All at up to 90% off retail, and each authenticated by our team of experts. Real luxury, unreal value, only at The Real Real. Shop now and get 20% off with the code REAL at therealreal.com and in our New York City store.
I'm really into this car, but how do I know if I'm getting a good deal? I tell TrueCar my zip and which car I want, and TrueCar shows the range of prices people in my area actually paid for the same car, so I know if I'm getting a great price. This is how car buying was always meant to be. This is TrueCar.
Two of the most respected men in television. The first, known for his hard-hitting journalism.
Shannon, you still lactate?
And the other, known for this.
Sure.
Together for one epic night. New Year's Eve Live with Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen, only on CNN.
Can Bosley regrow your hair?
This is my own growing hair that I can comb, cut, style, do whatever I want with it. The results I have achieved have been exceptional. This is my real hair. I can do with it whatever I want. This is mine.
Bosley gave me my hair back. I cut this hair. I wash this hair. I mess this hair up if I want to mess this hair up.
I can't explain to you the way that it made me feel to be able to wear my hair down, go out on a date, and have confidence again.
Can Bosley regrow your hair?
This is my hair. This is my hair.
Call or go online for your free, no-obligation self-evaluation kit. Plus, call in the next 6 minutes, and we'll even send you this $250 gift certificate. The information is free, so choose to grow back your own real hair. Choose Bosley. Call now.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
12 people are dead, including 3 children under the age of 10. This happened because of a fire that raced through a Bronx apartment building here in New York City. Several more are injured, including some of the firefighters. Listen to the first responders as they race to the scene.
Giving us a baby, apartment 13, baby trapped. People trapped, apartment 13. We're getting a baby in there. Also, apartment 6, people trapped.
Our correspondent, Scott McLean, is with us from the Bronx. First of all, what do we know about some of those trapped infants? Did they get them out? And also the cause of this fire?
Yeah, so first, Poppy, about the cause of this fire. Firefighters have yet to pin that down, but they are still on scene. They have been here since those flames first broke out shortly before 7 o'clock last night on the first floor of the building, which could explain perhaps why this fire was so deadly. According to public records, we know the building had 29 suites inside. There were only 4 complaints against it, though, since 2004. None of those appeared to be fire-related, but there were also 6 open violations registered with another city department. One of them over a broken smoke detector, another a broken carbon monoxide detector. Both of those on the first floor, again, where those flames broke out. We have reached out to at least one of the building owners. We have so far not been able to reach them for comment. The mayor was also asked about those violations on New Day this morning. Here's what he said.
Well, the building owner, building management is supposed to make sure that all those basic safety precautions are in place. And this is an older building. I believe it's over 100 years old. But it's still, they're liable to make sure the basic safety elements are in place. But we should not speculate yet. We have the best fire department in the world. They are very expert at investigating to figure out what the cause of a fire is. We need to give them a little time to work through this.
And that fire department managed to rescue 12 people from inside that building, Poppy. But the mayor also stressed that there could still be more deaths from this fire because there are 4 people in the hospital who are fighting for their lives right now in critical condition. What we know about those who died also is that they range in age from a 1-year-old baby to a 63-year-old woman. 4 of them were children. At least 3, Poppy, were under the age of 10. One other thing, the fire department, it is setting up for a press conference at the top of the hour, so we might get more clarity on some